Into the trash it goes.
Hey, it's me, the NPC. Just wanted to make a quick video talking about all of the latest news that came out on Dragon Ball FighterZ. First big takeaway of all of this is that my own dream roster is now officially dead. Just one update later, and already it's very easy to tell that Arc System Works is not going in the direction that I had predicted. Can't say I'm all that heartbroken about that, honestly. Looking back, there is a lot about my dream roster video that I am not happy with. To be frank, I'm actually more excited for the direction that the game is actually going than for my own little dream predictions. First thing is that we've got some live gameplay footage for Piccolo and Krillin. This is kind of old news. These characters were first announced a month back, but we are only just now seeing them in action. Both of them are zoning characters. Piccolo is very much of a Dalsim-styled ranged melee character, whereas Krillin is more of a projectile-heavy keep-away character. I think those are very smart design decisions for both of them, fits very much with their characters and abilities, and it makes them both stand out from the roster very well. Our first brand new character to have been revealed is Android 18. Now, of course, Android 18 being in the roster is a surprise to nobody. Of all the big-name characters, she was definitely next in line to be announced for the roster. What is surprising is her gameplay style, specifically the fact that Android 17 is taking part in it. It turns out that Android 17 is actually not going to be his own unique character. He is instead going to be a part of Android 18's moveset. From the footage that's been coming out of Gamescom, it looks like Android 18 is basically going to be a function of Morrigan from the Darkstalkers series. That's certainly an interesting direction to take the character in. I'm sure a lot of fans are disappointed that 17 is not going to be his own unique character. I've seen a lot of people throwing around the idea that they could have an alternate costume situation where 17 takes the lead role and 18 is the support character. Problem there is that the game engine that this is being developed in isn't really built to support alternate costumes. Characters are rendered one frame at a time, which is why, despite having 3D renders, they appear like hand-drawn animation. Because of that, if they wanted alternate costumes, they would have to go back in and replace each of those individual frames. It's almost the same amount of work as developing a whole new character. So it's not entirely impossible for 17 to get a standalone role, but it's just not as likely as you may think. If you do still want to see him get a bigger role, then do show your support, raise your hands in the air, send 17 Senpai your energy, but just remember to temper your expectations. Now our next character was actually a big surprise for me, and that's Android 16. I was not expecting this character to make the roster, but I am definitely happy to have him in. My only real concern with him was that there might not have been enough source material to pull from to build a moveset around. We only ever saw Android 16 in a couple fights in the original series, but they've still managed to build a convincing grappler moveset for him. It's great to see him make the cut, and it does give me a lot more confidence in a lot of other characters that I might not have had the best of faith in. Now, the next two characters we do not have any actual gameplay footage of yet, but there is still a lot to talk about. And they are Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. We don't have all the details yet, but it is sounding like these are going to be clone characters, and this is going against what Arc System Works said earlier about not having a whole lot of forms of the same characters. It's looking like we were taking that quote a little too seriously, as they obviously are willing to give multiple forms of the same character spots on the roster. I think it's just that they are being more conservative about it. We are getting these added forms of Goku and Vegeta, but I wouldn't expect any more beyond this. And if the Super Saiyan Blue versions of characters have been able to get in, then I'm now 100% convinced that Kid Buu is going to make the final roster. As for how they will differ in play style, all we really know is that Famitsu says that Goku is going to have a greater focus on speed, while Vegeta will have a higher damage output. Another important thing to note with these characters is that they are both pre-order unlocks. Not pre-order exclusives, but rather pre-ordering will let you unlock them immediately. If you don't pre-order, you still get the characters, but you have to go through the process of unlocking them, which is nothing new in fighting games, but this is just an interesting approach to a pre-order incentive. Personally, I am very anti-pre-order myself, but I could get behind something like this becoming more of a trend. The only real concern is how difficult these characters are going to be to unlock. This is something that could practically be a whole video in and of itself, but we've still got a couple other topics to touch on, so let's move on. Next up is the story mode, which is pretty much the only disappointing announcement out of all of these. They've said that the story mode is going to be revolving around the androids, and there's going to be a bunch of robot clones of the main cast. It just seems like a bit of a cop-out to me. It's not exactly an original idea, but granted, being able to write a story mode with a 3v3 system like this is always going to be a big challenge. For now, I'm willing to give Arc System Works the benefit of the doubt. They are in the top 2, in my opinion, in terms of game developers able to make compelling storylines in fighting games, and how good the story mode is actually going to be is really going to come down to character interactions and all of the little story beats that end up happening throughout it. So I'm staying optimistic for now, but I can't exactly say that I'm hyped to play the story mode. What is a lot more exciting is the 6-player mode that they announced. This is going to be an optional game mode where each character is controlled by a different player, and you can have up to 6 people playing all in one fight. I think this is an awesome idea. It actually seems kind of obvious to have something like this in a big team fighter, and it's sure to make this game a big hit at parties and help sell a lot more units. I know I certainly can't wait for the first chance to get together with some of my friends and try this game mode out. Speaking of which, I call dibs on Cell. So that is it for now. Let me know in the comments below which of these announcements have you most excited for the game and who you're hoping to see get announced next. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.